Okie dokie. Today I'm going to show you how I personally install Apache and a bunch of things. Apache, PHP, MySQL, the GD library, which is a graphics library for Webalizer, which is a tracking system, Phpmyadmin, and actually there's a couple things not listed here, Perl and a few other things, and virtual hosts on Windows XP. But I'm not really going to get in depth in this video about how you configure the virtual hosts because I don't need to. What I'm going to do is give you a link to download this folder that I've got right here in a zip format. And the site that I'm going to send you to is just a standard WordPress blog with no advertising. So you can download this, and there's a batch file that's going to help you set up virtual hosts. Because a lot of people that install Apache, it seems to me, one of the biggest problems they have is the configuration in terms of the virtual hosts. Now, a lot of people will say, it's not a good idea to do this copy and paste stuff or do it for them. Well, I'm the kind of guy that if I've got it in front of me on my computer and I look at it, I can kind of disassemble it and it makes sense in a way that seeing it on the internet does not. So people learn differently. And what this is going to do, as odd as it sounds, I own a domain called webputzer.com. For a minute when this is done, your first virtual domain is going to be called webputzer.com and your second one's going to be virtualhost2.com. The names are inconsequential. You can change them in a minute or in like 5 seconds. But anyway, I'll walk you through what this thing does. You open this folder, there's some numbered folders. MySQL is the first thing. We'll go through that. There's only two things in this whole setup that even matter, really. It's pretty much next. Right here, you want to choose typical, unless you really know what you're doing, and if you're watching this, you don't. I don't even choose these things. Typical's fine, and I'm not a genius, but most people don't need them. You don't need a custom MySQL setup, I don't think. If you do, you shouldn't be watching this. So, all right, this just takes a minute. So we chose a typical setup, and this takes all of about a minute. This is going to install a MySQL server on XP. There ain't much to it. The next step, it'll kind of bounce around, and then you configure it in this portion. Now, it'll default to this detailed configuration. This is the second thing you want to change. Pick standard here. So, installs a Windows service. Yep. Next. Enter a password that you can remember, hopefully, or if you're like me, enter one that you forget immediately because you're an idiot. Enable root access from remote machines. You can tick that. You can not tick it. Like, I never tick it. Execute down here means just finish up. And you'll see these should have little blue check marks. And when the fourth one is done, that means MySQL is running on your XP box. So, not much to it. And there ain't much to any of this. So, the cool thing is, like I said, I've written a little batch file that's going to set up your virtual hosts for you. So, and then you can fart around with it, and that's all done. Okay, let's go to folder 2, the GD library. This is a great one. Watch this. Next, I accept. Goodbye. Next, 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 next. You don't have to do anything. It's just accept the default things, and it's just brain dead. So that's done. Apache. This is pretty simple too. Next, I accept. Next, next. Now it's going to say to enter your domain. Just type localhost. This is going to get your configuration file is going to get overwritten anyway. So none of this even matters. I mean, you can do whatever here. I did not take typing in high school, so. But anyway, something like that, and that really does not matter what we just did back there. Typical setup. You can really type anything there because the configuration file is going to be overwritten. So. If you download this package from me, it just kind of makes it easy. If you're kind of new to this stuff, I think it's a good way to do it. Maybe I'm full of beans. I don't know. But it's about done. Now, here's the deal. We're going to install Perl, and for some reason, Perl takes there's a progress bar like this thing, and it gets to about here, and it just kind of sits there for like, I don't know, 2 minutes. So I'm probably going to edit that out. But we're about done. This is and you're going to have a really full-blown web server when we are done. So. Finish that. Bada boom, bada bing. Okay, here we have this folder called Files, and we have movestuff.bat. This is a script that I wrote, a batch file that's just it's gonna set up PHP. It's gonna copy some DLL files that Apache needs into the bin folder, the Apache bin folder. Bottom line is, you can do this stuff manually. It's a lot faster to just do this. Double click it, boink, it's done. Now Perl, and Perl again is completely brain dead, but takes a minute or so. So I'm probably going to edit this out. It's just next, 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 install. So this is going to take a minute, and I'm getting I need a drink of water. This is a terrific video, just kidding. So it's not the greatest video, but it's a cool deal. And if you go to www.webputzer.com, I'm going to leave a link for you at the bottom and search for Apache on Windows. You'll find this. I'll probably leave a link right to the page on the bottom of this. I'm going to cut this off for a minute while this finishes up. It gets to about here and just sits for a minute. So we'll just turn this off for a minute. Okie dokie. Perl finished up. We're going to restart Apache and look at and see what we got here. So go to the server shortcuts, which is part of the little package we got here. Remember I said webputzer.com, it's a weird name, is going to be your first virtual host. So we'll click on that. Typically, what Apache normally does is installs a page that says, hey, it works. That little batch file I wrote changes that. You puts what's called a PHP info page in here. And this details, gives you some information on what your PHP setup looks like. By the way, you can change what modules are loaded and all of that stuff by going to C PHP and editing the php.ini folder. In fact, it's got a thing called date, which in this case I've set to, let's see, America, New York, because I live near Detroit. So, you know, there's things you may want to change. So, but it's easy enough to fix. Go to C PHP and edit the php.ini file. So let's see what else we got here. Run Webalizer. This will create a Webalizer report, and we can click the Webalizer shortcut, and we will see a report about, you know, who's at the site. Usage statistics for webputzer.com. So this stuff is all done with that batch file. It's just all set up and ready to go for you, which I think is pretty cool. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. But it's got all kinds of cool information on who's looked at your server. You've also got a thing called AXS tracking, which is, I like it. I've used it for years, and you can. This also will tell you who's looking at your server. In this case, just me. But let's see what else. You've got Phpmyadmin installed. It's already there if you need it, if you want it, if you do MySQL stuff. So that's there. It's pretty full featured. It's got a lot of stuff and there's nothing to it. I mentioned you've got virtualhost2.com, which is right here, which is nothing. It says something like example virtual host. And there's a shortcut to Apache. To change all that stuff, go to configuration, extra, and edit the HTTP, you know what I mean, the vhost file, which is your virtual host. You can go in there and just change, like it says webputzer.com, change it to whatever.com or whatever you want to do. If you want a domain, change it to that. But here you've got two working virtual hosts that you can, if you added a third one, you could just copy and paste this down below it and change the paths. You know, they'd be in a different folder, but you got a framework from which you can work. So if you don't know a lot, I think it should help. Maybe, like I said, maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. This is how I tend to learn stuff. I actually made this for myself so I could do this quickly because I do a lot of testing using just XP. But maybe you'll have some fun with it. I don't know. Just go to webputzer.com. I'm going to put a link at the bottom. Download this folder as a zip file. And Godspeed. I hope you have a little bit of fun and it helps you along.